Providence Municipal Court late on a Friday afternoon. The weekend was close, the courtroom winding down after a long week of cases. Then the door didn't just open, it slammed. The sound bounced off the walls, sharp enough to make every head in the gallery turn. Marcus, the Hammer, Reeves, didn't walk in, he made an entrance. 29 years old, built like carved stone, wearing a muscle shirt that showed off arms covered in tattoos, skulls, flames, scripture about warriors. His neck bore the words, "Fear none," in aggressive Gothic lettering. He wore athletic shorts and high-top sneakers, completely wrong for court, and sunglasses indoors. Around his waist hung a championship belt buckle the size of a small plate. And from his phone, loud rap music played. Not through earphones, just playing, openly, for everyone to hear. What happened next became a lesson no one in that room would forget. I am Frederick, and for years I've been watching courtroom moments where respect meets entitlement and where justice doesn't blink. This is one of those stories. If you appreciate real accountability being delivered without fear, go ahead and hit that like button now. The bailiff's voice cut through the music. Marcus Anthony Reeves, case number 2025-TF-9847. Marcus didn't turn off his phone right away. He let the music play for another 3 seconds. 4, 5, making everyone wait. Then, with exaggerated slowness, he reached down and tapped the screen. Silence fell, but it was charged now. Tense. He removed his sunglasses deliberately and looked around the courtroom like a fighter, sizing up opponents. Some people looked away. That's what he expected. Judge Frank Caprio looked up from his paperwork with the patient expression of someone who had seen every type of defendant imaginable. "Good afternoon, Mr. Reeves. Please approach the podium." Marcus didn't walk. He strutted. His shoulders were back, chest out, arms held slightly away from his body in that universal posture of someone ready to throw down at any moment. He planted himself at the podium with his feet wide, hands gripping the edge hard enough that his veins stood out. Judge Caprio spoke again. "Mr. Reeves, I need to inform you that this courtroom has a dress code. You're here for a legal proceeding, not a training session." Marcus looked down at himself, then back at the judge. "This is how I dress, Judge. I'm comfortable. You want me uncomfortable?" The question carried something underneath it. Not quite a threat, but not quite respectful either. The judge's voice firmed. "Mr. Reeves, comfort isn't the issue. Respect for this court is. Let's discuss why you're here. You've been cited for multiple violations stemming from an incident at the intersection of Branch Avenue and North Main Street." Marcus shrugged dismissively. "Yeah, I got into it with some old dude who was driving like he was blind. Going 10 miles under the speed limit. Some people shouldn't be on the road if they can't keep up with traffic." Judge Caprio opened a file. "Mr. Reeves, according to the officer's report, you didn't just honk at another driver. You exited your vehicle at a red light, approached his car, and physically struck his window while making threatening gestures." Marcus's jaw worked, chewing gum that no one had noticed until now. "That's one way to describe it. Another way is that I was having a conversation about road safety. Guy needed to understand he was creating a hazard." Several people in the gallery shifted uncomfortably. An elderly woman whispered something to her companion. Marcus heard it, and his head turned slightly in their direction, just enough to let them know he noticed. "I've seen this pattern before. Someone walks into court like they're still in the cage, like the rules that apply to everyone else don't apply to them. It never ends well." Judge Caprio's voice cut back in. "Mr. Reeves, look at me please, not at the gallery. At approximately 7:15 p.m. on October 3rd, you were captured on traffic surveillance exiting your vehicle, approaching another driver's car, banging on his window and making what the other driver described as threatening gestures. The other driver, a 67-year-old man, was frightened enough to call 911. He reported that you made a throat-slashing gesture. Is that accurate?" Marcus cracked his knuckles. "It's not accurate, Your Honor. It's exaggerated. I got out of my car, yeah. I might have knocked on his window to get his attention, and yeah, I made a gesture, but it wasn't a threat. It was just expression. Communication. The guy was old and got scared easy. That's not on me." Judge Caprio leaned back slightly. "Mr. Reeves, when you say you made a gesture, what gesture was that?" Marcus actually demonstrated. Right there in open court, he drew his hand across his throat in the universal "cut it out or you're dead" motion. This one, I was just saying like, cut it out, stop driving like that. It's not literal. The courtroom reacted. Multiple gasps. The bailiff took a half step closer. The judge's hands folded deliberately. Mr. Reeves, do you understand that what you just did, repeating that gesture in my courtroom, is itself a form of intimidation? Do you understand that threatening gestures, regardless of your intent, are perceived by others as threats? Marcus stared at Judge Caprio with defiance. Your Honour, with respect, if people get intimidated by a hand gesture, that's their problem, not mine. I can't control how sensitive other people are. The words landed like gasoline on embers. Judge Caprio's voice remained calm, but there was still underneath now. Mr. Reeves, let me share what I'm seeing in your file. In the past 2 years, you have accumulated 6 traffic citations, 3 for aggressive driving, 2 for excessive speed in residential zones, and 1 previous road rage incident where the other party chose not to pursue charges. This suggests a pattern of behaviour where you treat traffic violations as a cost of doing business, rather than warnings about dangerous conduct. Marcus shifted his weight. Yeah, I drive aggressive. That's how you survive out there, Judge. You either dominate or you get dominated. That's reality. The prosecutor rose. Your Honour, if I may, Mr. Reeves has an active civil lawsuit against him stemming from a bar altercation 6 months ago. The plaintiff is alleging assault. It speaks to a pattern of aggressive behaviour in multiple contexts. Marcus turned toward the prosecutor quickly, aggressively. That case is going to get thrown out. The guy started it. Self-defence. Judge Caprio's hand lifted. Mr. Reeves, you will face forward and address only the bench. Marcus turned back, slowly, deliberately, making it clear he was choosing to comply. The judge continued. Mr. Reeves, what concerns me is a pattern. Aggressive driving, road rage, bar altercations. You seem to move through the world in a constant state of confrontation. I move through the world not taking garbage from people, Marcus responded. I've worked hard for what I've got. I train 6 days a week. I've built my body into a weapon through discipline and pain. That earns respect. An elderly man in the gallery muttered something under his breath. The word sounded like bully. Marcus's head swiveled instantly. What was that? His voice rose. You got something to say, old-timer? Say it to my face. The bailiff moved immediately, positioning himself between Marcus and the gallery. Judge Caprio stood. When Judge Caprio stood, everyone knew something serious was happening. Mr. Reeves, his voice filled the room without shouting. You will control yourself in my courtroom. You will not address the gallery. If you cannot maintain basic courtroom decorum, I will have you removed. Do you understand? Marcus's jaw clenched. Yeah, I understand. Good, the judge said. Now I'm going to show you something. He nodded to the clerk, who activated the monitor. The screen came to life. The timestamp read 7:15 p.m. October 3rd. A black Dodge Charger with a tap or snap decal sat behind an older Toyota sedan. The light turned green. The sedan accelerated normally, cautiously. The Charger immediately laid on the horn, a sustained blast that went on for 7 seconds. The sedan maintained its speed. The Charger suddenly swerved into the oncoming lane, raced around the sedan, and cut back in front so aggressively that the sedan's brake lights flashed immediately. At the next red light, the footage became damning. The Charger's driver door opened. Marcus Reeves exited. There was no mistaking him. He walked toward the sedan with his arms held away from his body, that universal fighter's posture. He reached the driver's window and pointed. His mouth was moving. Then his palm struck the window, once, twice, hard enough that you could see the car shake slightly. And then the gesture. Marcus drew his hand across his throat slowly, deliberately, while staring at the driver. He stood there for 15 seconds, just standing there, staring, making sure the message was received. Cars behind both vehicles started honking. The light had turned green. Marcus didn't care. He took his time walking back, got in and drove away. The sedan stayed stopped for another 5 seconds, the driver clearly too shaken to proceed. The footage ended. Judge Caprio looked at Marcus. Mr. Reeves, you just watched yourself. You described this incident as having a conversation. What I saw was intimidation. What I saw was a man using his physical presence to terrorize someone who was simply driving carefully. Marcus's face flushed. Your Honor, that footage doesn't show what happened before. It doesn't show how dangerously slow he was going. The judge's response was immediate. He was going the speed limit, Mr. Reeves. We checked. The speed limit on that stretch is 35 miles per hour. The footage shows him going approximately 33 miles per hour. That's not dangerous, that's cautious. Before Marcus could respond, Judge Caprio continued. Mr. Reeves, I'd like you to meet someone. Bailiff, please bring in Mr. Walsh. The side door opened and an elderly man entered. Small, thin, using a cane, his hands trembling slightly. This is Henry Walsh. He's 67 years old. He's a Vietnam veteran, and he's the man whose window you banged on while making threatening gestures. Marcus looked at Henry and something flickered across his face. Not quite remorse, more like irritation that the situation had become more complicated than he expected. The judge's voice was gentle now. Mr. Walsh, thank you for coming today. Please, take the witness stand. Henry Walsh moved slowly to the stand, was sworn in and sat down carefully. His voice when he spoke was soft but steady. Your Honour, I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Judge Caprio nodded. Mr. Walsh, can you tell us in your own words what happened that evening? Henry took a breath. I was driving home from my doctor's appointment. I have glaucoma, Your Honour. My vision isn't what it used to be. The doctor tells me I can still drive, but I need to be careful, especially at dusk. So I drive slowly, maybe too slowly for some people's taste, but I'd rather arrive late than not arrive at all. I was going the speed limit. I know I was, because I watch my speedometer very carefully now. And then I heard the horn behind me. Do you think Marcus actually believed his behaviour was justified, or was he just unwilling to admit he was wrong? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Henry continued. I heard the horn and I checked my mirrors. I saw this car behind me and I could tell the driver was angry. Then he went around me in the oncoming lane and cut in front of me so close I had to brake hard. My heart was already racing. At the next light, I was trying to calm myself down, telling myself it was over. Then I saw my door in the rearview mirror. He was getting out of his car. His voice broke slightly. Your Honour, I've been in combat. I was in the infantry in Vietnam. I know what danger looks like. And when I saw this man walking toward my car, I knew I was in danger. What did you do, Mr. Walsh? I locked my doors immediately. All of them, and I looked straight ahead because I've learned that eye contact can escalate situations. But he came right up to my window and started banging on it, not knocking, banging, and he was yelling. I couldn't hear the words clearly through the glass, but I didn't need to. The tone, the body language, it was all threat. Then he made that gesture, the throat-cutting gesture. And Your Honour, I'm a veteran. I've seen men die. I know what that gesture means. I was terrified. I took out my phone with shaking hands and I called 911. I could barely get the words out to the dispatcher. Judge Caprio leaned forward. Mr. Walsh, how has this incident affected you? Henry looked down at his hands. I haven't driven that route since. I take side streets now, even though it adds 20 minutes to my trip. Every time I'm at a red light, I check my mirrors constantly. I lock my doors as soon as I get in the car now, something I never used to do. My wife says I've become nervous in ways I wasn't before, even after the war. He looked directly at Marcus. I just want to know, did my life matter so little to you? Was driving fast really worth making an old man afraid to drive? Marcus shifted at the podium. Your Honour, come on, look at him. You really think I was going to hurt a senior citizen? I was just making sure he understood that driving that slow creates hazards. Henry Walsh's reply was quiet but cut through. I wasn't driving slow. I was driving carefully. There's a difference. And you weren't teaching me anything. You were punishing me for not going as fast as you wanted. Marcus's voice rose. Yeah, because you're a hazard, old man. The gallery erupted. Judge Caprio's gavel came down hard 3 times. Order. Mr. Reeves, you will not address Mr. Walsh directly, and you will certainly not insult him in my courtroom. Marcus raised his hands in mock surrender. All right, my bad. But Judge, seriously, you're acting like I committed assault. I got out of my car and talked to a guy. That's it. The prosecutor stood. Your Honour, we have additional evidence relevant to Mr. Reeves' state of mind. With the court's permission, we'd like to present his social media activity from around the time of this incident. Judge Caprio nodded. Proceed. The screen changed to show Marcus's Instagram profile. The photo showed him shirtless in a gym, muscles flexed. His bio read, undefeated in life, fighter, teacher, alpha, fear none. The prosecutor highlighted the first post. This was posted the evening of the incident, approximately 30 minutes after it occurred. The caption read, just educated another weak driver on how roads work. If you can't handle the speed, stay home. Hashtag alpha mentality, hashtag dominate or get dominated. Marcus had liked and responded to several comments, including one that said, you probably scared him to death, to which Marcus replied, good, maybe he'd drive better now. The third post made the gallery react audibly. It was a screenshot of his court summons, photographed on his dashboard. The caption read, got caught Friday for aggressive driving. Some old dude couldn't handle real driving and called the cops. System protects the weak. Watch me walk out like always. Hashtag untouchable. Marcus shrugged. Your Honour, that's just Instagram. It's entertainment. My followers expect that energy. It's branding. You can't take social media literally. Judge Caprio's voice was cold. Mr. Reeves, you posted a photo of your court summons and called Mr. Walsh weak. You mocked the legal process. You told your followers you'd walk out of here like always, implying that consequences don't apply to you. That's not branding, that's evidence of your mindset. Here's the thing about people like Marcus. They confuse confidence with aggression, strength with dominance. They've spent so long building their bodies that they forgot to build their character. Judge Caprio leaned back. Mr. Reeves, I'm going to ask you a direct question. Do you believe your training in mixed martial arts gives you the right to intimidate others? Marcus's answer came without hesitation. I don't intimidate anyone, Judge. People get intimidated because they're weak. That's their problem, not mine. I'm not responsible for other people's fear. Judge Caprio stared at him. So Mr. Walsh's fear when you banged on his window and made a throat-slashing gesture, that was his weakness? Exactly, Marcus said without irony. The man's 70 years old, been in combat, and he's scared of a conversation? Yeah, that's weakness. I'm just stating facts. Real strength means not being afraid. Henry Walsh looked at Marcus with profound sadness. Not anger, just sadness. Judge Caprio's jaw tightened. Mr. Reeves, that attitude is precisely why you're in serious trouble. That belief that fear equals weakness and that your strength exempts you from basic human decency is going to cost you significantly. Marcus actually laughed. Trouble? Judge, I've been in cage fights with guys who wanted to break my bones. This isn't trouble. This is just inconvenient. I'll pay whatever fine you give me and move on with my life, like I always do. Then Marcus made his critical error. He stepped away from the podium, not a small step. He walked 3 full strides toward the bench where Judge Caprio sat, closing the distance. The bailiff reacted instantly. Sir, return to the podium immediately. But Marcus didn't stop. He took another step, now only about 6 feet from the bench. He looked directly at Judge Caprio, chest out, shoulders back, arms slightly away from his body. Your Honour, you want to know if I think I'm intimidating? Yeah, I am intimidating. That's not a crime, that's just a fact. He flexed, actually flexed his arms in open court. This is what real work looks like. I earned the right to not be pushed around by anyone. The bailiff had his hand on Marcus's arm now. Sir, step back to the podium right now. This is your final warning. Marcus looked at the bailiff's hand, then slowly, deliberately pulled his arm away. Don't touch me. I'm just standing here. Judge Caprio's voice cut through. Mr. Reeves, what you just did, approaching his bench without permission, ignoring a bailiff's direct order, this is a demonstration of exactly the behaviour that brought you here. You cannot control yourself. You cannot accept boundaries. Marcus finally stopped moving forward, but didn't step back. Are you scared of me too, Judge? The question hung in the air. Judge Caprio didn't stand, didn't raise his voice. Mr. Reeves, I am not scared of you. I am concerned about what you represent. A man with physical capability, but no emotional discipline. A fighter with no understanding of when not to fight. That combination is dangerous. The bailiff, joined now by a second court officer, physically guided Marcus back to the podium. Judge Caprio continued, "Mr. Reeves, you just added a contempt of court charge to your violations. For the charge of aggressive driving and road rage, I am fining you $750. For exiting your vehicle to confront another driver, an additional $500. For disorderly conduct, $300. And for contempt of court, an additional $500. Your total in fines is $2,050 plus court costs, bringing your total to $2,400. Marcus's eyes widened slightly, but Judge Caprio wasn't finished. Additionally, your driver's license is suspended for 6 months effective immediately. You will surrender your license to the clerk before leaving this courthouse. What? Marcus's voice cracked. I can't work without my license. I have clients all over the city. I need to drive. The judge's expression didn't change. You should have considered that before using your vehicle as part of a campaign of intimidation. You will also complete 60 hours of certified anger management counseling. You will perform 300 hours of community service, specifically working with senior citizens at assisted living facilities. You are on probation for 2 years, during which any aggressive incident of any kind will result in immediate jail time. And there's one more condition. You will not be permitted to teach at your MMA gym or any training facility during your probation period. You may train for yourself, but you will not instruct others in combat techniques while you lack the emotional discipline to control your own aggression. Marcus's hand slammed down on the podium. You're saying I can't teach at my gym? That's my income. That's how I make my living. You can't take that away from me. The judge's response was unwavering. I can, and I am. The State Athletic Commission will monitor your compliance. Marcus's voice rose, desperation creeping in. Your Honour, this is excessive. This is my livelihood you're destroying. Judge Caprio leaned forward. Mr. Reeves, your livelihood is not being destroyed. It's being temporarily restricted because you've proven yourself to be a danger to the community. The difference is crucial. Additionally, a restraining order is being issued requiring you to stay at least 500 yards from Mr. Walsh at all times. You will remove all social media posts related to this incident within 48 hours. Failure to comply with any of these conditions will result in additional charges. Do you understand? Marcus stared at the judge, breathing heavily. This isn't right. This isn't fair. Judge Caprio's voice dropped, became almost gentle. Mr. Reeves, fairness is exactly what you're receiving. Fairness means being held accountable for your actions. Fairness means that physical strength doesn't grant you special privileges. Fairness means a 67-year-old veteran deserves to drive home from his doctor's appointment without being terrorized. But Your Honour, Marcus tried one more time, his voice cracking. I'm 29 years old. I've built my entire life around fighting and training. 6 months without driving, without teaching. That's going to destroy everything I've worked for. The judge's response was quiet but final. Then perhaps you'll learn that the same discipline that built your body can build your character. You're dismissed, Mr. Reeves. Marcus stood frozen for a moment, as if he couldn't quite believe this was happening. Then he turned and walked toward the exit. The strut was gone. As he reached the door, he muttered, just loud enough for the bailiff to hear, "This isn't over." The bailiff immediately reported the comment. Your Honour, Mr. Reeves just made a statement that could be interpreted as threatening. The judge's voice carried across the courtroom. Let the record show that Mr. Reeves made a potentially threatening statement upon exiting. Mr. Reeves, if you violate any single term of your probation, this court will pursue the maximum penalty, which includes incarceration. I strongly suggest you use these 6 months to develop the wisdom your strength has been lacking. Marcus didn't turn around. He pushed through the door and disappeared. The courtroom exhaled collectively. Henry Walsh stood from his seat. Your Honour, I just want to say that I hope Mr. Reeves learned something from this. I don't hate him. I pity him. He's built his entire identity on being strong, but he doesn't know what strength really is. Real strength is protecting others, not dominating them. Real strength is controlling your temper, not unleashing it. If this story about real accountability and why respect matters more than muscle resonates with you, go ahead and subscribe to Frederick Explains Court right now. We bring you moments where justice refuses to be intimidated and where the law reminds us all that strength without character is just aggression wearing a title. 6 months later, the aftermath painted a complicated picture. Marcus completed his anger management courses, though his counsellor noted he remained resistant to accepting responsibility. His gym attempted to work around the teaching ban by having Marcus demonstrate techniques without verbally instructing, but the Athletic Commission caught this and fined the gym $3,000. 2 months into his probation, Marcus was cited for using aggressive language at the senior centre. The volunteer coordinator filed a complaint stating Marcus had called one of the residents weak for needing help with a walker. Henry Walsh reported to police that he'd seen Marcus drive past his house twice in 1 week. Investigators looked into it, but couldn't prove it wasn't coincidental. Henry still takes the long way home from his doctor appointments. He says he probably always will. When asked if he regretted speaking up in court, Henry said, "Not for a second. If my testimony saves one person from what I went through, it was worth it." After completing his probation, Marcus relocated to a different state and continued his MMA career. He never issued a public apology. His social media still features alpha mentality content, though he carefully avoids discussing this case. His bio now includes the word persecuted. When asked if he learned anything, his answers remain vague, focused on overcoming obstacles rather than understanding why those obstacles existed. The question remains, did Marcus Reeves actually learn the lesson Judge Caprio tried to teach him? Or did he simply learn to hide his aggression more carefully? What's clear is this: real strength isn't about dominating others. It's about controlling yourself. Marcus had the physical discipline to become a fighter, but he lacked the emotional discipline to be a decent human being. This is what justice looks like when it refuses to be intimidated. This is what happens when you confuse muscles with morals, when you mistake fear for respect. Marcus the Hammer Reeves learnt the hard way that real power comes from the bench, not the gym, and that the only fight that matters is the one for your own character.